Okay, hi and welcome back everyone to this President's Report here for the Academic Senate at LTCC, talking about issues arising here in June of 2019. So we have our final Board of Trustees meeting of the academic year coming up here today on June 25th, and then we go into hiatus, we go dark for July, and then the board is back in session in August. So I think my plan will be to do another report probably at the end of the summer, maybe as we're moving into convocation, getting started with fall quarter. Right now, of course, we're focused on graduation and a lot of the end of the year initiatives, including some of the grants I'll be talking about. So let's jump right into the issues and take a look at what's been going on. So these are some current items I want to focus on. Many of you know there was a Board of Governors visit. The president and the CTE member of the board came to visit us in mid-June, and I thought it was a productive meeting. A number of you on campus had an opportunity to sit in on some meetings from our different leadership groups, and thank you for participating. I think one of the most effective things about it was that we got to communicate some of the unique issues that we face as a small college here at LTCC, and I felt like the Board of Governors, the two who came, were very receptive to our ideas, and they were super collegial, and I just felt like we were in really good hands just in terms of their representation at the state level. So thank you again for participating if you did. I want to mention that SEM, Strategic Enrollment Management, is concluding. I should actually put this in quotes. The group will likely continue to meet next year in a new forum with some new members. The official project itself has ended, but we'll continue our efforts with Strategic Enrollment Management. I won't say a lot about this because I recently did a video that focused on guided pathways, SEM, and Promise. So be sure to check out that video to get the really up-to-date information about SEM and the other projects. If you don't have that video link, let me know and I'll send you the YouTube link as soon as possible. So Promise for next year, a lot is happening with this program. We just had a series of meetings. We'll continue to meet into July. And as a reminder, my contract will now be a 12-month contract, so I'll be in on Promise meetings in July. We're hiring a Promise director, hopefully by the end of July. We're also doing some initiatives right now with trying to figure out how to roll out Promise next year and specifically what to do in terms of the student experience. I'm developing the Promise class, which is our basically LTCC 101 class. So there's a lot more happening with this. If you're closely involved with this, for example, our counseling faculty or our library faculty or others who may be involved with some of the guest lectures in the class, I'll definitely be in touch with you later in the summer and early into fall as we get the class ready to go for our new Promise students. So really exciting times coming. There'll be more happening with this also with the Kaiju Kickoff, so I think you'll see a lot of branding and external facing stuff in terms of Promise when you're back on campus in the fall. As I just mentioned, the Kaiju Kickoff is happening. It will be branded. It will likely be organized via meta majors. There'll be some meetings with some of us on campus discussing what that's going to look like. If you have any recommendations or tips or feedback from last year's event, let me know and I'll try to pass that on to the folks involved in some of those efforts. So important because the Kaiju Kickoff really does establish that first effort, that first look at the college for our students when they come to take our classes in the fall. So it's a great opportunity to really meet and greet our students, to talk about meta majors, to talk about careers, to talk about some of your student clubs on campus, and to really give students a sense of excitement that there's more than simply taking a class. There's this whole student experience that comes along with what an LTC student expects when they enroll in the fall. Committees for next year. Quite a few of you, curriculum committee and some others, said, hey, I'm interested in this committee for next year and so forth. We haven't really touched this yet. I sent to the leadership team of Jeff and Michelle Risden a series of talking points about committees, how many committees, which are most significant, how do we use our committee time, can we structure committees to more effectively connect to some of the main initiatives on campus like SEM, Guided Pathways, and Promise. So I'm not going to say a lot about committees yet because we haven't met, we haven't had the conversation. I feel like we'll do that probably in the summer. It's always a challenge. I just want to say that we can't match every single person with your most desired committee. I realize some of you get on committees, myself included in the past, that isn't your favorite. And you're like, I really don't want to do curriculum or equivalency or guided pathways or whatever. Unfortunately, with the small faculty, we can't always be on every single committee that we enjoy. So I ask for, I guess, a little patience with everyone next year because it's impossible. we're a small faculty. Basically what I'm saying is it's impossible for everyone to be on their favorite committee. We're a small faculty. People are on reduced teaching, sabbatical, and so forth. Those variables, trying to juggle those with less than 40 faculty makes it really challenging to just make that work, to equitably put people on committees. So more to come on this. I'll be in conversation with you, but I feel like there'll be a little less of that sending a sheet to you and saying, what's your most desirable committee? And it's just because of practicality. Because if everyone has to be on curriculum and those terms are already established, someone's on a multi-term, and maybe some people want to do it again, we have to balance all these things. It's not so easy to get everyone on that perfect committee that you think is the committee that you most desire. So more coming on this, but just bear in mind that it's not as easy to do some of that matching that we did in the past, just because of the complexity of all those issues I mentioned earlier in terms of our faculty. I do want to say committee thanks. So many of you have worked so hard this year on committees. One of the committees I'm on in terms of the DE addenda with the Committee on Online Learning, we had close to 90 of these very near like the last week of the quarter to get these on the curriculum committee agenda. So I thank everyone for your committee work. Some of these committees just get crazy in terms of the applications. Equivalency, we've been dealing with quite a few, getting those on board for summer with some of the summer teaching and so forth. So again, thanks to everyone involved for such hard work this year in terms of your committee work. Mention just one issue from the PAC meeting, the President's Advisory Council of June 25th, 2019. And this is related to campus safety. I'm not going to say a lot about this because I feel like I'm not entirely connected. I have a little bit of connection to some of these safety issues. I can't discuss them. A lot of these are confidential. But there was an email that the President sent out recently. I think there was some concern out there about this. Let me just say that the safety issues are being addressed, and we can talk a little more one-on-one about some of these concerns if you have them. And you can communicate that the senior administration, the safety individuals involved in these situations are actively pursuing some circumstances right now that we can't talk about. When more information comes out, that can be shared with campus. I do want to say just very generally, I feel like the campus is proactive. I feel like when there is a threat or a potential threat, it gets addressed. It's just that two things happen. One is confidentiality. We can't release a lot of details about what happens. Two is, even when we know, okay, this student should be suspended or potentially expelled, there's a series of procedures laid out in the college catalog. As a result of this, there's things like due process, there's investigations. If local PD or FBI is involved or other agencies, that increases the time in terms of response. So what I would suggest to you is that if a student is disciplined, that could take 1, 2, 3, or even more months. It doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means that the process is necessarily slow. When the attorney is involved in it, it involves another layer of bureaucracy there. So I think what I've seen as the immediate issue or potential threat is addressed. The long-term stuff, once the threat assessment is made and we know that people are safe on campus, the long-term stuff obviously takes longer to take place because of all those bureaucracies, all those legal channels and external agencies that we have to deal with in terms of interfacing with some of these direct safety issues. I will say in the future we're talking about more trainings, including on-site trainings. Some of the stuff that Brian, Phyllis, and the art department they were involved in, that could be very effective for all of us to be involved in that in our own workspaces. So more to come on campus safety. I want to mention farewell to Michelle Sower and Bob Albrecht. Great turnout, quite a few faculty, staff, administrators, former staff came to the farewell ceremony. Wonderful speeches were given. And overall, just a real sense of positive appreciation for both Michelle and Bob and everything that they've done for all of us at the campus here at LTCC, and we wish them well in their future endeavors. It's always hard to say goodbye to colleagues, but we're also excited for them because it's a new journey in life and they deserve it, and they're moving on. So I'm sure we'll be in touch with them in future social activities. And it is so great, by the way, to see former employees, all the folks from A&R who came out for the event, and many of us hadn't seen many of these people in 10, 15 years. So it was really cool to see some of our former employees on campus. Board of Trustees meeting from June 11th, 2019 already happened. I'll go over a few issues here. So one is student housing, and I'll just refer you to the board docs again for all the supporting information. Super exciting news in terms of student housing. You know, we opened up or are opening up the new property. We're going into agreement fairly close to campus in terms of the new housing. We'll be hiring a residential activity director, and there'll be an on-site person living there. So it's an exciting opportunity for our students as we move forward. Again, the board will be thinking about it in the future, actually bringing student housing to campus. That process, because of all the regulatory and construction and financial issues, will take a little longer to evolve, but it is on the radar of the Board of Trustees and also the Superintendent President. Okay, moving along, this was kind of a big deal. So the June 11th meeting of the Board of Trustees was so exciting because there was like $9.6 million in new money that was being announced. This was the latest one, and a lot of kudos to Jeff and his team and Russie and all the folks who went down to Sacramento and worked in advocacy efforts to get this money. And Jeff was mentioning in the meeting that he's not sure which of his contacts pushed it over in terms of legislative approval, but that's a big deal for us. So much more to come on this. What it basically means is that we're going to be revitalizing, remodeling a lot of the student services stuff, offices, moving DRC downstairs, remodeling the science labs for safety and efficiency. There's discussion of faculty suites as well. And I think probably what will happen is there was that first round of space study in which I mentioned, I think it was one board meeting ago, I had that map and I drew out where things were moving. I almost want to say like some of that could be on hold if those moves don't involve new construction, like moving the world language faculty and Maxine and Sue and some of the others back into the F wing. That, I guess, if it doesn't involve a lot of new walls and breaking things, tearing things down, adding things, that maybe could happen in the short term. But my feeling is that anything in the long term, because there's this new money in, we probably need to have a campus-wide conversation about some of these possibilities for changing up spaces. So kind of put that one on hold, and I would say there's more coming in terms of this conversation, but very exciting for the campus and the college. The other money thing coming in is the CVC OEI. Again, I talked about this in a previous version of the President's Report. Basically, it's an online grant that is strengthening our CTE ties, our CTE training with faculty, student onboarding, and so forth. I'll be involved with this, Treva, Brad. We're actually hiring a grant coordinator. And the deal is we have to spend this money, $500,000 in basically just the 12 months. That's it, no extension. So it's happening really fast. We'll have a committee this summer. Treva's on that committee to hire the grant lead. That's a one-year position, and it's a really fast-moving situation, but very exciting situation for the campus in terms of improving some of our CTE work and our online pathways. We're also involved in HSI, or Hispanic Serving Institution Grant. I'm on that particular committee. We had one meeting. We have another one scheduled for early July. A grant writer has been hired for this. This is a pretty big deal. If we receive this grant over a 5-year period, it's $2.5 million. And so you begin to see that with a lot of these grants, it's significant money, significant resources we can bring to the campus. This one has the potential of carrying, LTCC carrying that stamp of Hispanic Serving Institution. So very positive in terms of our multicultural efforts, our local community efforts with outreach to our local community. And so great opportunity out there. Of course, a lot of work is going to go into this grant, the application, thinking about programs, thinking about all the context we need to include in this grant. But it would be great if we can apply for this, and we will apply for it. It would be great if we can receive this grant. They will likely, I think, give out 40 of these over the next year. The following year, I heard that there'll be 80 given out. So if we aren't successful in this year one, we could apply again in year two and potentially have twice the chance to receive that grant. So more on the horizon about HSI. If you have any tips or feedback on this, questions, just direct them to me and I'll try to answer those as best as I can. So the Senate meeting of June 21st, 2019, what I wanted to mention, it was Melanie's Library Comprehensive Program Review. I thought it was really compelling about how she's thinking big picture about the reserves, the media reserves, the stacks, the grant or the program for free textbooks, textbook rentals, and so forth. So a lot to be said about her effort and her staff's efforts to really develop a comprehensive library learning services program for campus. So I would just say check out that particular piece from the last Senate meeting because she takes you through just with graphics, a lot of the ideas for the future, conversations about Chromebooks, and moving the library into a new mode. A lot of libraries are transforming and transitioning how they deal with information, how they deal with media and technology, and even the space itself in terms of a more active center where people can do study groups and meet and have conversations, and then have some soundproofing in the back of the library such that you can maintain those who want to do the very solitary work of reading and taking notes and not having active conversations in groups. So really kudos to Melanie and the staff at the library for just having an eye on the ball in terms of taking our library to that next level that's so important. And of course, that's the purpose of a comprehensive program review, is to really think about the future. What have you done well in the past, and how can you move into the future, in this case, in terms of the library and media services that we have. Board of Trustees meeting for June 25th, 2019. All confessions here, I'm actually recording this before the board meeting. It's my long Tuesday, so we have a board meeting tonight. I'm going to try to just predict what I think are going to be the big issues. I want to say, if you look at this agenda, it's the biggest agenda of the year. So there are, I think, 17 consent items. And just because an item is on the consent agenda doesn't mean a board member can't pull that and discuss it. It often happens. There are probably 18 or 19 items on action. And if it's anything related to a lot of the association or contract changes that you're seeing with all the governance groups on campus, all the bargaining groups and the meet and confer groups, those all have to be read out verbatim by the board president, Jeff Cowan. So it takes a little time to get through this, but very, very important stuff. This is one of the most important board meetings, I think, of this whole year. The last meeting was the money board meeting. Again, 9.6 some million in new money. Very exciting. This one is all the stuff related to the contract, and you're going to see a lot of contract stuff in here. And so there are multiple association bargaining items. As much as I would love to discuss this in my report, I am a member of the association. I'm not an officer. I'm not a member of the negotiating team. I've done that for many, 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 many years. It wouldn't be my place. It wouldn't be appropriate given my role to go into those items. So all I can say to you is, if you have questions, talk to your negotiators, Bruce, Kathy, and Scott / officers. Have conversations with them. If you have concerns, and I'm saying this only as a member, not as a Senate President, so I probably shouldn't say any more about this. But one thing I'm going to say is, you can also do this. You can go to the board agenda as we speak. You can read the contract. It has it in track changes format. It has the new salary schedules. It has everything that's been negotiated for this year. And that's all I'll say on that, because it's not my place to talk anymore about association items. Now, also at tonight's board meeting, there are numerous positions being hired. I mentioned the CVC OEI Grant Coordinator, the Housing Director / Coordinator is up on there. Increases to the University Center Coordinator, that's on the agenda, and likely more conversations about positions you might see being hired in the future. There's a lot happening very quickly. Just talk to HR, and they're constantly trying to fill these positions as they happen. And it's pretty maddening with some of these, like the CVC OAI Grant Coordinator, because we're operating on such a compressed timeline in terms of trying to get that position hired. So more to come in the future on these important positions. I want to mention that for next year, this is apart from the board agenda, I'll be doing some trainings using my new role as Faculty Chair of Teaching and Learning. This entire office will be transformed. New furniture, new computer. I'm going to have a projection screen on the wall. I'm going to hopefully put up some cool graphics and stuff. I mean, this office just isn't really ready to go as a training space. It just doesn't have that look, and I'm trying to really evolve it and transform it into next year. I want to also mention that I'll be doing a lot of live casting. I think I'll do a test run of a live cast either in July or August, just to see how that technology is working, to see how that's going to operate. So be on the lookout for that, either through YouTube or an email message, probably through my YouTube channel. And I have a whole slew of ideas for trainings, but of course, I want feedback from all of you, the part-time and the full-time faculty, whether you teach in person, through ISP, or our DE classes. I want your input on what are some topics and trainings you would like to see happen. So there's going to be a lot going on. We'll have brown bag lunches. I'll have office hours. We'll focus on creating videos, multimedia efforts, and so forth. So a lot of exciting stuff for next year to be on the lookout for. Graduation is coming up this week, and so it's exciting to see everyone at graduation. Every year it seems like a bigger and better event, so good luck to everyone involved in graduation. I hope most of you can attend or at least watch the live cast on LTCC's Facebook channel, so look out for that if you cannot attend in person. As always, if you have any questions about what I present in the President's Report, if you want more information about a board item, more information about something that happens at PAC or any of the governance meetings on campus that I attended, just shoot me an email, just come to my office, ask me a question. I'd be more than happy to give you some feedback, give you some information. If I can't answer your question, I'll try to point you to the right source on campus. So if you're not here this summer, if you're not teaching for us, have a restful summer and get re-energized for the fall. If you are here this summer like I am, if you're teaching or doing other important faculty work, good luck with the continuing and important work that you do for all of our students here at Lake Tahoe Community College, and I'll be back again probably at the end of the summer, early fall, with another video here for the Academic Senate President's Report. Okay, hey, leaving the board meeting tonight, actually got out earlier than expected, but I need to add one more item to the report, and that is just some new and exciting faculty introductions. So let me jump to that right now as the last item tonight. And indeed, congratulations to all of our new faculty this year. Mark Davis in Culinary Arts and Hospitality, Sarah Marquez, our new faculty counseling member, and Kata Goralski, who is our new World Languages Spanish faculty member. And of course, Kelly Greiner, our new DRC LD specialist, will be introduced at a later board meeting. And I also want to acknowledge all the faculty who won awards this year. This is an image following graduation at our foundation-sponsored event at the University Center. So congratulations indeed to Bruce Armbrust, Carla Johnston, and John Kingsbury. All of them were selected for either the Distinguished Faculty Award or the Student's Choice Award this year at Lake Tahoe Community College. And that'll do it for this report. So again, have a great summer, and you'll hear back from me a little later in the summer with some information related to the summer happenings at LTCC, including the summer board meetings.